Unscripted, unfiltered, unafraid. Welcome to the Macworld podcast. My name is Michael Simon, and I am joined by my colleague Jason Cross.
Good morning.
And our producer, I wrote down. I didn't change this from last week, Roman. I wrote down Ruben Latula.
Yeah.
if you listen to last week's show, that'll
make sense. Yeah.
Yes. So, ahoy there.
But yeah, hi Roman. This is episode number 976, and today's kind of a catch-up episode. Like, we don't have anything new to talk about per se, but this week we did get the official announcement of WWDC, which will be June 8th, as we assumed, the first Monday, the first full Monday week of June. So we'll kind of give an overview of that, and we'll catch up on Jason's studio display reviews that we've been talking about for 3 weeks now that we just keep throwing in the back burner. So we'll get his thoughts on that, and we will talk about some Apple TV rumors. And we'll close with segments, worst thing that happened this week, and comment corner, of course, the one that we always do, that I always forget. Okay, speaking of comments, you can contact us through Blue Sky, Facebook, Threads, search for Macworld, look for the blue mouse logo, send us an email to podcast@macworld.com, send us a personal email, comment under a video, comment under a post. Just, find a way to get us a comment, and we will talk about them in a future show. Okay, Roman, I'm going to shuffle things around. Let's do Apple history first, or for a couple of reasons.
All right.
One, I could tease next week's show, because April 1st is Apple's 50th anniversary, and we're going to have a special guest. Some of you probably know who he is, Jason Snell. He worked at Macworld for a long time. He worked in the Apple kind of universe. I don't know if he quite does he go all the way back to the 80s, Roman? Was he at Macworld or wherever in the early 80s? No.
No, he can tell you this, but his career started in the early 90s.
Okay.
So
none of us are old enough to have been working quite that. Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll talk to him about, all that stuff. His experience with Macworld events, his experience with Apple products, watching through the years. He has a whole bunch of history there. And the other reason why I want to do this is because this will lead into this week in Apple history will lead into our first kind of main topic discussion, which is rumors of possibly an Apple TV coming soon. So let's hit it, Roman.
Okay, so in Apple history this week, the original Apple TV started shipping on March 21st, 2007. So what? I messed this up before. I'm going to mess it again. That's 19 years ago?
There you go.
Is that right? There I go. So I'm well rested. Somebody in the YouTube comments said I needed to get some rest. I got some rest. So I was able to do that math. But yeah, 19 years ago, the original Apple TV came out. Now, it was introduced the previous January at Macworld Expo, but it was just introduced. And there was
introduced
even before that.
Yeah, I forgot to look this up, but if I recall, September of they kind of Steve Jobs kind of teased it as the big that completes.
They
the
called
story.
it iTV.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
And there was a big a legal battle because there was an iTV out there. I think Logitech had a device or something. It was everybody wanted to make a set-top box device at this point to get into your living room. And so there was an iTV out there because of a trademark dispute with, I think ultimately it was the British Broadcasting Network, ITV.
There was that.
They want to sell it globally, so that was the ultimately what made them switch the name before it was released.
And it's funny because had it come out as ITV, I don't know how it affects the development, but at least the naming of stuff. That was the first Apple product, Apple something.
Right.
If I recall.
Not something. Yeah.
Right.
Everything was something for a while.
And now it's Apple Watch, and they kind of took that and ran with it.
Yeah. I'm trying to think if that was.
We did get iPad and obviously iPhone. So iPhone came out during that same keynote. Apple TV was the first like announcement, and then everyone forgot about it because, you know, the iPhone came out, 10 minutes later or whatever it was. That was a Macworld San Francisco 2007. So I guess they were still doing the eye thing, but I wonder if like a little switch flipped in someone's brain and said like, you know, maybe we can do Apple, like the little logo. It's cool. It's branding. It kind of ties everything back. I know the eye thing is Apple's, but a lot of other companies were doing it, you know, accessory makers and, you know, like people were kind of glomming onto that, and Apple is unique and like no one can do that.
Right. Yeah. I don't remember that was the actually first Apple blank product, but I guess it does. It might be. It might be. They were really going on the eye thing. iMac was huge.
iPod,
everything was an internet product.
Right,
that was like these days, internet is such table stakes that they don't call things the internet something. But that was then. That was like, this is an internet phone.
Yeah.
Well,
you know,
does Apple One count? Apple II?
What's that?
The original Apple
you mean
One
the original? I was thinking of the service.
Oh,
yeah,
like Apple II, Apple II, Apple
sure.
IIgs.
Right.
I guess so.
Well, I mean, since they got away from that, what did they? I guess Apple III or Apple IIgs the last one. I think Apple IIgs was the last one of that line, and then everything else was just Macintosh.
Mac,
and I don't think they called them Apple Macintosh. I think they were just Macintosh.
Right. They don't even say the Macintosh. They just call it Macintosh.
Yeah. Right. So yeah, they got away from it. It was the first product, I guess we could say, to bring it back. But yeah, maybe it was. Yeah. It could have been the actual first Apple something. Can you imagine if that wasn't, if they had not just decided to do everything like iMac, like if it was Apple phone, Apple Pad, Apple. It sounds weird to us because we have
it would make
decades.
sense if they did it, but yeah.
Yeah, we have decades of this stuff, but now, so it sounds weird to us, but it actually makes more sense.
Yeah. I remember when, like, Roman, I think we were talking about it. You were at that keynote, but when Steve Jobs said, and we're calling it iPhone, and the crowd just erupted.
Yeah.
Because it was such a big deal.
But what was funny, because it had been rumored that it was going to be called iPhone.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So it was, to those of us in the jaded journalism community, it was, we were like, yeah.
But so the i thing was, it was iMac and iPod,
right.
and I don't know. I don't know. But people. He said it ran OS 10 and everyone cheered, and then he said we're calling it iPhone and everyone cheered. Yeah, that was still the greatest. Like sometimes I just watch that keynote just to watch it. Like he was so good that day. That was like his what is it? I don't know, Jimi Hendrix or Bob Dylan or like one of their iconic concerts. His that iconic, was just he was just brilliant that day.
So the Apple TV. At that time, it was 7.7 inches square.
Yep.
Which seems gigantic now.
It does, yeah.
And it had a 40 gigabyte hard drive. Is that correct? Yes, 40 gigabyte hard drive.
Yep.
And it ran iTunes. Do people remember iTunes?
It had it had like a Pentium M processor and ran a whole different OS than it was an OS.
Was really that Front Row? Was that the software it ran?
Oh,
I remember that shipped on the iMac.
Right.
I think it ran.
I think it included that. That's not what they called the whole operating system, but it was based on Mac OS and stuff. It wasn't sort of like the current Apple TV software is. Its foundation is the iPhone, iPad. Branch of stuff, right? This was like more like the Mac branch of stuff. It's like taking a Mac and cutting everything out of it and making it just run on iTunes and a few other things. The interface wasn't great. The remote wasn't great.
Right. You could basically watch movies and listen to music, and that was it. But it was similar. It was definitely similar to the Front Row like interface where, as Jason said, very different than the iPhone and the Mac and everything. It was its own thing. It had a ton of ports on the back for connecting to televisions because back then there were like 17 different standards before HDMI took over everything. There was video out and the component video and HDMI.
Yeah,
and
there were component
USB,
video cables, and like And of course, Ethernet, because not a lot of people had decent Wi-Fi in their homes, and just all kinds of. It's kind of a wonky product, but second gen is where it switched to Apple Silicon. It had an A4. They changed the entire operating system. They changed the layout and the interface. And it's not what it is today, but it was definitely a completely different branch and kind of a different product and all. That first gen Apple TV was interesting, but not good.
Yeah. The second gen came out in 2010, which was a bit of a landmark year. iPad came out with the A4 processor. The iPhone 4 came out. That was, like really the one that really blew everything up. This came out. I can't remember if I owned the original Apple TV. I don't think I did.
I don't think
a lot of people didn't. I don't think you were.
Well, the weird thing also about when the original Apple TV came out during that time was, even though there were video standards being established, there was still kind of a mishmash of video formats out there. So when the announcement came, Apple didn't actually say it's going to support this format. They didn't say it. They didn't announce that at that time. So there was a question as to what it was supporting. Remember when real networks was a thing? And So, and a lot of Windows Media Video was out, and DivX. Do you remember DivX Video?
Yeah, sure. Oh yeah.
So now everything's at MPEG-4 and.
There's a couple of major standards that you can kind of rely on everything being formatted in. Unless you're like doing some really niche stuff or production stuff, everything for consumers is one of a handful of very small.
Flash video,
Flash. Oh yeah.
So
the real media stuff. Wow, that was for a while. That was everywhere. Yeah. They did such a good job of like convincing every major media organization to.
We're way off track here, but Apple killed Flash basically. Because the iPhone didn't support it. Yeah. And Steve Jobs wrote a letter and said, basically, screw you. We're not doing it. It sucks. And if you like it, go buy something else. Yeah. So, anyway, Apple TV, a couple of them came out. The second gen, as Jason said, to change the shape and the whole idea of it. Then we got the HD model, the 4K model, and the one we have today is the third gen. Yes. The third gen Apple TV 4K. Which came out in October of 2022. And we've been waiting for a new one for a little while now. We're, 3
We're expected to get one this year, probably first half of this year. It's probably going to be what amounts to a chip and ship update. You're not going to sudden major new features for it are probably going to come like in the OS 27 updates later. Anything that would require, more RAM or whatever, all that kind of stuff. So.
It seems to be like all of these delays, the HomePod, Apple TV, this new home flat screen thingy, it's all related to Siri, allegedly. That's what people keep reporting. Mainly Mark Gurman keeps reporting that these Siri delays that are now reaching year 3, maybe or close to it.
Yeah, I know
they're pushing all of these updates because they're all going to have Apple Intelligence support or at least Siri support, and it's very dependent on the app intents and the contextual awareness and the whole new thing.
The whole new Siri architecture.
Brings.
Yeah.
So
the Apple TV wouldn't be because it exists and has all of its software and services. So they could update they could give us a 4th gen Apple TV. It's got a new chip in it. And then it just gets all these new capabilities this fall or whatever,
They could do that.
That might happen.
But there's also no reason. I mean, there's not a whole lot of I think I have the 2nd gen. Yeah. I have the 2nd gen and it's fine. Like no one is using Apple TV saying, man, I need a new one of these things.
Yeah, there wasn't a huge gap between the 2nd and the 3rd gen. It was a year apart. The chip was a big gap. It went from like the A12 to the A15, and the remote got a little better. But the main thing the 3rd gen did is it slashed the price a lot. It was like better, but also they made it considerably cheaper, which was a huge shock. And so, it's still kind of the best set-top box out there.
There's no question about it. It's the best. So. It's the best by a country mile.
Yeah. It's also twice as expensive because they practically give away Amazon Fire Sticks and stuff like that. But it's, it is the best.
Right. I have so on my porch, I have a little projector that I have a Fire Stick plugged into, and my living room or my dining room television is a Samsung Smart TV. So I use them. I use them all. And man, when I sit in my living room and I turn on my Apple TV, it's so nice. It's by far the best. Everything's snappy. Everything loads quickly. The picture's better. It's organized nicer. Everything is better. So yeah, we might be getting a new one soon, or we might be getting a new one in a couple months after new Siri drops. So, Jason, I'm going to push yours to the end. Because this is a nice segue into WWDC. Maybe we'll
okay.
So
we're never going to talk about studio displays. It's going to wait. Do you remember that SNL skit, like the "What's Up with That" skit that? Roman's on his head, and they always had. God, I can't remember the
Kenan
guitar
Thompson.
player. Yeah, Kenan Thompson was the host, but he always had. Oh God, I can't remember.
A celebrity guest that he would start to talk.
Well,
to
he had the same one. It was the guy from Fleetwood Mac.
Right. Lindsey Buckingham.
Lindsey Buckingham. They always had Lindsey Buckingham there, and he didn't speak, and he smiled, and he was always going to interview him, and they ran out of time every time, and they said, "We'll get you next week, Lindsey," and he's just like, "Yeah, okay." So that's what's happening.
Yeah, well, if you're clamoring to hear studio display thoughts, hopefully we'll get to it at the end of this segment. But on Monday, Apple dropped the preview for WWDC, basically just like it's happening. There's not a ton in the announcement. It is somewhat notable that they called out AI. Like, they don't usually do that. They've never done it in a previous WWDC kind of teaser. And they don't talk about AI a ton unless it's like Apple Intelligence. But they did say that there will be AI enhancements. So that kind of got me thinking. And Jason, you've kind of mentioned this a couple of times.
Right.
Will the new Siri be pushed to iOS 27?
I'm kind of thinking. So what we were expecting is there's a new Siri that was supposed to come with 26.4, and it was It's a new, better model based on the foundation of Google's Gemini, and it was going to give us the features that were promised way back when, the on-screen on-screen awareness, the personal context, and the app
This
intents.
was supposed to arrive in iOS 18 in 2024.
Right. And then it was. Then they said, sometime in the next year, and the long-running inside info was 26.4 this spring. 26.4 betas came out. It wasn't in it. And then they said, Gurman's posting, all my sources inside say they're having problems with some of these things. And some of these features are going to be next month. And then some of them they're having trouble with. They might be even later. They might be pushed to the fall. I'm starting to think 26.5 isn't going to bring any new Siri. The new foundation, even with less features than originally said. I'm kind of thinking Apple might be having enough problems that they're looking at it going, let's forget this. We only ever said this year, which is kind of BS. Let's just launch what we were planning for iOS 27, which was always meant to be an even bigger Siri with a bigger foundation, a new foundation model
type thing.
Yeah. It would have a back and forth chat interface on Mac and iPhone, stuff like that. But it would also be built on a foundation with far more parameters and use more cloud processing and all that other good stuff. And be conversational. You could talk back and forth to it. Like this new Siri update we were supposed to get with 26.4 wasn't going to be conversational. You weren't going to be able to put it in voice mode and talk back and forth to it like you do Gemini and stuff like that. It was still going to be a prompt and answer Siri that had all these other features. But the new one is going to be conversational and all this stuff. So my guess, and this is totally a guess, is 26.5 is going to have absolutely no new Siri at all. And they've just decided to scrap this sort of halfway step and just go with the big Siri for iOS 27 and macOS 27 and all the 27 updates. And we're going to see that this at WWDC in June. They're going to show it off.
I mean, that could be as we're recording this, the 26.4 updates arrived, which was supposed to have Siri. So they all just landed, which means we'll be getting the 26.5 beta within the next day or two. So
hopefully,
if you're listening to this, that we might have the answer to that. Because if it's not 26.5, I don't think it'll be. I think it's either this update or nothing, because you figure a month and a half, and then we're really close to WWDC.
They never do anything really big in like the 0.6 and 0.7 updates. Those are usually security things as they already are moving on to the next big yearly update. So that's kind of their last chance. It's really late. It may not even be in the first beta, because a lot of times for the first couple beta releases, they add a lot of features, and then the last 2 or 3 beta releases are just fixing the bugs before it comes out. So we'll see. We may have an answer to this soon, but my guess is no new Siri at all until WWDC and the fall. And I bet the first betas, they always at WWDC, the first betas of all the operating systems are released so that developers, not the public beta, so that developers can start working with the new frameworks and getting their apps compatible and all that stuff. And they are often missing some of the features. And my guess is new Siri is not going to be in those first June 8th releases of the 27 updates either.
I mean, so let's say that happens. Let's say we don't get Siri again. Can Apple, is Apple going to be, can Apple recover from this? All right. So let me rephrase that. So we're obviously watching this very closely. Do normal Apple users have any idea that there's a new Siri and it's late? Because when you do your phone, you get the new Siri animation. Do people know, or do they care that this has all been delayed?
No, I don't think they do. The iPhone 17 sold more than anything else out there, any iPhone before, and it has no new AI anything. Right. A lot of the AI that people use are third-party apps and services anyway, right? So I think for the most part, and this is kind of Apple's problem, is that people have just decided that Siri sucks and they're not going to use it. And they don't know there's a whole new ground up, like Siri 2.0, brand new Siri that hopefully doesn't suck on the way. Like, I don't think people don't know. The billion iPhone users don't know. Just a small group of people who focus on this stuff, like us. So I don't know what it means for Apple long term that they keep kind of missing target, even though they don't publicly announce specific dates, except for that first one they missed really bad. The one with ads where we saw ads and stuff. We saw ads, and it was always said to be coming in an update, and then that update came, and they said, "Oops, we don't. It's not good." So, long term, I don't know what it means, because they obviously AI really matters to the investor class, to all of Apple's shareholders, to everything. When they updated the MacBook Pros and everything, you should have seen that press release. That press release, go to Apple Newsroom and read the latest MacBook Pro press release for the new models. Yep. It is AI. Every section is about using AI in some function of production or developing for AI or AI. It's everywhere, and they've stopped just calling it machine learning and stuff like that all the time. They're
which they had before. AI is not a new concept that Apple just discovered a year ago. They've been doing it. They just didn't brand it. They branded it Apple Intelligence, which was a stroke of marketing genius, I suppose. And then it kind of fell on its face. And what's really interesting about the whole Apple Intelligence kind of saga is that there are companies like Google and Samsung and Amazon and Facebook, like they're investing heavily in AI and haven't really gotten that far with it. Like Apple is doing its slow and steady thing.
Google's not in terms of like selling.
That's what I mean.
Pixel devices, but Google is like the big dog in AI.
Yeah, of course. Right? Yeah, like it's definitely a thing that's developing. But as far as like to point at something and say Apple missed the boat, like they really haven't. The boat might be a little bit off the shoreline, but they can still get there pretty quickly.
Well, I think the issue is that it's difficult and complex to get to a reliable place. There's a lot of companies that are willing to ship things that are just totally unreliable, wrong, flaky. There's a lot of ways in which it's a privacy nightmare for a lot of these companies. And Apple has a standard they have to meet that's pretty high, higher than I think a lot of these other companies are willing to meet. They're just willing to race ahead and release. And it's hard to catch up. It's really hard to make this stuff. You can count on less than one hand the number of companies that make good foundation models and good, like AI. The 7 trillion other AI companies that spring up all use those 3 companies like major foundation models and APIs and stuff, and they just modify it and buy tokens. And so. Yeah, I think there's just kind of 2 things going on. It's like Apple's got a high standard to meet, but also it's really, really hard.
Yeah, and they already kind of capitulated and said, "All right, we're gonna use Google's Gemini as the foundation for this thing," and they still haven't been able to deliver anything.
Yes,
a shippable product.
Yeah, because it's not just Gemini's with slap Siri on it, right? Like it's using Gemini technology, but all the stuff they want to do with it, all the on-screen contextual awareness and the personal like context for your stuff and all these things, those aren't just like built into Gemini or anything. They have to use Gemini and still build that stuff on top of it and within it and put all their guardrails on it. Yeah. So it's a big complicated thing. I know they're working really, really hard on it, but I don't know how long they can go not delivering it before like investors start to get upset. I mean, I guess as long as they keep selling products, they don't care. But
yeah, as long as they're selling, $100 billion of products a year, I think they'll be fine.
Yeah.
But
to your earlier point, the real worry for Apple is that they have quite a number of products that are reliant on this shipping before they can ship the product. So their product pipeline is kind of starting to be held up now. And that's what investors care about. They're like, hey, man, if you keep selling products, and they're like, well, we can't keep selling products if half our products require this new Siri.
Yeah, right. I mean, that's the thing. But on the other hand, they sold more products than ever in the holiday quarter. They just released their cheapest Mac ever, and it's still out of stock in the sense that you can't go in the store and buy one right now if you want a certain color. So I don't think any of this is really affecting their ability to sell products.
Yeah, not the existing products. This is all required for all the new areas they want to grow into. And I don't know how much time. I don't know how much runway they have. I mean, they certainly have all the money in the world. That's not the issue. The issue is just like when do all their investors and everybody start to get real nervous? When does it start impacting sales to consumers? Anybody's guess, but it's starting to look bad.
So WWDC, I assume Apple Intelligence plays a major role in it, regardless of whether or not we get the new Siri or part of the new Siri next month. There's still a lot to come. And I think
it's the next new Siri is still always a part of that. The big chatbot one, the big model, and that is supposed to tie into and work with a whole bunch of Apple apps, all the apps that come pre-installed on your things and stuff, right? So there's a lot of AI features within apps and all that.
Well, with all the delays we've seen from this, like thus far. Do you think we'll get that kind of next generation in iOS 27, or are they going to push that out another year and make sure that this whole bit is so?
I think they're going to skip this whole bit. Is what I'm saying. They're going to say this is a half step. We're investing too much time and effort in the new model, but it's smaller and lesser, and it doesn't do. Let's just stop working so hard to make this work and just put all our effort in the thing that we were going to ship this fall, which is going to have all those features and more and be bigger and better.
And you think that will arrive in June, or will be previewed in June?
I think that's going to be a key focus of what they talk about at WWDC. The rumor so far for all the new operating systems is, I mean, there's always some new features, but it's going to be, people are saying this is like a Snow Leopard release. Yeah. It's going through all the old code with a fine-tooth comb and removing cruft and fixing long, old, outstanding bugs and making everything run smoother and more efficiently.
Which it could use.
Yeah, every few years we need that. Right. It's not a bad idea. So outside of the AI stuff, which is big, there's not expected to be much in the way of major new features except for that. I think we're going to maybe see some other things like maybe a health app revamp that's been a little bit delayed and overdue. And I think that ties into this AI stuff.
Yep.
But yeah, it's not expected to be the like last year's release full of a bunch of different, so many features and so many different apps. We're still going to have Liquid Glass. They're just going to tweak it some, all that stuff.
I mean, I think as both an Apple diehard user and a casual fan, I think that's a good thing because like Apple comes out with 50 new features. Nobody uses all of them. Very few people use a large part of them, and I'm going to say like a handful don't even pay any attention to them. They
don't even know they're there.
Right. They restart my phone and make sure it works. Like, I'll go back to my parents. My mom, the first thing she did was call me. It was like after iOS 26, and she's like, "How come my phone looks different?" And I had to explain, like, it's the same.
Right.
It's just different. They don't. Most people who use Apple products just want their phone to work really well, last really long, and that's it.
They're very frustrated that they're getting that it's nagging them about a software update when it just nagged me 4 months ago, right? and then they install it, and when the screens pop up that tell them what the new things are, they're just like next, go, stop. Right. I'm trying to open my TikTok. Just leave me alone. Like, right?
I mean, I'll be honest. I don't use half the new features. I'll try them.
No, yeah,
but they don't become part of my everyday stuff.
Yeah.
So I think a year, give us the new Siri, dial everything back as far as new features, smooth out all the rough edges, because there are some. Liquid Glass is nice, and I don't expect that to go anywhere. And they need to refine it a little bit and fix some stuff. Mac OS needs a lot of help. Roman, if you want to chime in with anything that you like Mac OS needs like some love at this point.
Yeah, they need to do something about
the
Liquid Glass and things like that.
Yeah, it runs well, but I think just in terms of like UI cohesion and stuff like that, Mac OS could use some touching up.
Yeah,
the Spotlight isn't what was sold. The searches and settings is terrible. It's especially now with MacBook Neo. Like, I think they need to take a step back and really get Mac OS back to what it was, because it was in let's go like El Capitano, one of those years, like really good. And then all over the years, they kind of added too much kind of cruft to it. And, iPhone is obviously more important, so iOS gets all the focus. And I just think they need that. It's not terrible. It's still better than Windows, but it could use some help.
They could start by bringing back Launchpad.
There you go. I like Launchpad too. No, I don't disagree with you.
They're gonna make it. I think people are going to be real mad because they're going to be paying a lot of attention to macOS this year because they have to build macOS for touchscreens.
Oh, that's true. Also iOS for folding stuff. Oh yeah, we didn't even talk about that. Yeah.
The Mac OS, if they're gonna make a touchscreen Mac, which is everybody says they're all systems go on that. The way that they said they're going to do it is it's going to be the Mac OS you're used to, except that when you go to touch something, the spacing gets wider on menus. The things, if you touch something if you click something that just happens when you click it, you might touch it and then get like a radial menu around where you touched it that shows next step options that make sense for touch and stuff. So I think they are going to pay a lot of attention to macOS's interface, but I think they're going to go in the opposite direction that people want. They're going to make everything kind of less information dense, less, less room for more stuff, because they're making room for everything to expand and shift as touch targets happen for the touch. So I feel like, be careful what you wish for when you ask them to change macOS a lot, because it might go the wrong direction.
You can kind of get a glimpse of that with iPad OS 26. Like there's kind of some of that in there. Yeah. Where if you hover, things get wider, the menus change. So I think Jason's probably right about that.
Yeah, I'd worry about it. But it does, you're right, especially with MacBook Neo, macOS needs some love. They're going to get... Yeah. I think there's a very good chance that a year from now, there's twice as many Mac users as there are now. Because everybody wants a $600 laptop. So
yeah, I mean, Tim Cook said this was our biggest Mac launch for non-Mac users, which I don't know how they measure that so quickly.
After a week, that is meaningless marketing fluff. But
maybe, but it's still notable in the sense that it's immediately attracting people who aren't previous Mac users.
Yeah.
I've been watching college baseball with my son, and every single ad break has a Mac Neo commercial.
Oh, really?
They're targeting the audiences that we thought they would.
Yep.
So
that's going to be, the ads for that are going to be huge. Supply will have rebounded, and they're going to run the ads that you see at back to school time around September and stuff are going to be everywhere.
Yeah. And it makes sense. You can buy your son a $300 Chromebook that's going to break in a year and a half, or you can get him a $500 MacBook.
It doesn't run anything that he wants to run,
Right.
Whereas the MacBook runs all that stuff. I mean, it runs iPad apps and stuff too. So half the apps that he has on his phone or whatever. Yeah, it's going to be better.
Yeah. My son is a PC. He has a PC for games and an iPad and an iPhone. And he's already asked me, because he has a Chromebook, and he's already said, I'm going to high school next year because I get a Neo. I didn't tell him about it. Well, I mean, he probably heard about it from me talking. Yeah. But it's absolutely going to attract a whole new audience.
Yep.
All right. Hardware. Are we going to get any new hardware? All right, everyone, we'll have a larger preview show sometime in May. But what are you expecting for hardware releases at WWDC?
Nothing. I don't expect any of the kind of wild new stuff like the Home Hub tablet thing or anything like that.
That's the one I'm wondering about. Is if we get the new Siri, will they also demo that?
No, I don't think they will. I think all that stuff is going to be in its own event or part of the September event or whatever. We have not gotten much in the way of new hardware at most WWDCs, only when they had to kind of announce Vision Pro because they needed developers to get on board before they released it and all. That was the only real kind of thing. But we still have a number of Macs that need their chip and ship updates. So Mac Studio needs its update. Mac Mini needs its update. The base iPad is due for its update stuff. So all those things, I think it's very possible all that stuff happens at WWDC. They seem to be on track for a, quote, first half of the year, and that kind of is the end of the first half of the year.
The M5 Ultra, for sure, I would bet, because if we're going to be getting the M6 later this year, it seems as though that M5 Ultra has to come out at some point relatively soon. Unless it doesn't, but for them to miss the M4 and the M5 Ultra would be strange to me.
Right.
So yeah, the Mac Studio with the M5 Ultra seems to be solid. Mac Pro, man, are they ever going to do anything with that? Does it still exist?
No, Mac Pro is going to go away.
I check like once a week to see if it's not just like axed from Apple's website.
It would not surprise me if it just silently disappears from the website when the new Mac Studios come out. But the Mac Mini hasn't had its M5 update.
Which it might not get. Sometimes they skip the Mac Mini.
Have they since they started doing
the 3 at least? The 4 was the big change. There was no M3 Mini. I don't remember about the 2 Roman. Was there an M2? I think there was an M2, but there wasn't an M3. But yeah, the Mac Pro. So we're going to run a bunch of like 50th anniversary stuff next week, and so I've been going back through the history and stuff, and man, the Mac Pro used to be like the thing. Like it was the last one to get the Intel chip, and it was the fastest. It's just there now.
Right.
And there's no. It's like an old broken down car that no one wants to get rid of. It's such a sad demise for what was once like such a cool Mac.
Yeah, it's in a lot of ways the Mac Studio is the new Mac Pro, and they couldn't call it the Mac Pro, but it's really what it is.
Sure.
It's the new Mac Pro.
It's just not modular in the sense that you can change the hard drive and stuff.
Yeah, and I don't know that. I wonder how many people who have those.
That's true.
The current revisions of the Mac Pro have changed anything in that way.
Right, you can't even do much with the Mac Pro. You can add a hard drive and you can put an audio card in there, but that's about it.
Right, something like that.
Yeah,
and a lot of that stuff people just use external with Thunderbolt now. And
right. It doesn't even have Thunderbolt 5. Like the Mac Pro is so sad.
Yeah, no, but the Mac Studio does, and so just use that. And then the iMac needs its M5 or whatever. So all those things could be between now and WWDC and at WWDC, but I don't think we're going to get any of the cool new stuff. I think we're going to get like the rest of the M5 updates and the iPad.
I
refresh.
wonder, and this is a long shot. Roman's going to start yelling at us because we're talking too long. And your studio displays is already axed. Sorry, Jason.
Yeah, no, I know. You're never gonna hear about it.
I wonder if they're going to preview the folding software or the software for the iPhone Fold.
Not a chance.
There's no secret that it's coming out.
Yes,
so rather than risk,
no, man. In Apple's mind, that product does not exist. Like they have never even hinted at acknowledging any kind of rumor for anything ever.
But they've done that. It's not unprecedented. They did that with the iMac Pro. They did it with the HomePod. They did it with iPhone, right? They previewed it months before.
But they showed the product. Right. They didn't just say like, "Oh, this is a product that's coming. We're not even going to show it to you, but here's the software for it." Like never, no. So there's no way they're going to show or even hint at iPhone the software features that are required for the Fold without actually showing the hardware, and they're never going to show that iPhone Fold at WWDC. Not a chance. No way.
There was a time when WWDC was the launch pad for new iPhones. So like the 4, I think the 3 or the 4 was the last one, but yeah. Yeah, you're probably right, but it would be so cool if they just dropped a complete and total bomb on everybody.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Here's the new iPhone, or here's the.
But I don't think they want to steal any thunder from new Siri. They're finally going to have real new Siri. It's going to be a real chatbot that like is conversational and talks back and forth and has like a text log of stuff like the current chatbots. I think they really want that to be the star of the show. They want to go out there and go like, "We've been working for years on this, and we're finally ready to show you."
Yeah, and I think that would be a good kind of focus for the show. You know, a bunch of small updates, fixing a lot of bugs and issues, and here's the new Siri that we've been waiting for 3
and the way that
years.
AI is infused into every Apple product and service, right? Like it's going to be in photo. Here's how AI in photos, and AI in TV, and AI in music, and AI in this, and AI in notes, and AI and reminders, and AI and right. So, and that'll make investors really happy and all that stuff. And it's something that will have a lot of frameworks and APIs and hooks that developers need to know about and start developing for. And so, yeah, I think it fits.
Yep. So that's
sorry.
That kicks off. WWDC kicks off June 8th, 10 a.m. There'll be a keynote. You can watch it online. It's the same thing where it's virtual, but there will be people there, and we'll have more to say about that between now and then. But real quick, the WWDC logo, it's got to be the least teasy, for lack of a better word.
Oh, I know.
Like
it's just letters.
So it's a black screen. Yeah. It's a white logo, and the 26 is like glowy. Like, so the conspiracy theorist, or the optimist in me wants to say like this is a hint that they're going to bring back the glowing Apple logo on MacBooks.
Oh, on the back, on the lid.
Right.
Oh, I kind of do want that.
Worst. That's the worst thing about the new Apple. Those MacBooks were the best. Those when you turned them on and the thing lit up, that was the coolest thing. But it's there's nothing like last year. They had the glassy rainbow. It's like, oh look, we're going to get that new interface. And the year before, I don't remember, but there's always something that kind of hints at what's coming. And this one, it's nothing.
Yeah,
it's just white.
Maybe at a later release as we get real close to it or something. But this is just a black background with a sort of white, foggy, liquid glassy looking WWDC26, and that's it.
And the 26 is brighter than the rest of it, or
it's like gold.
Glows.
Yeah.
So all right. So that's it. That's WWDC. Will coming in March, April, May, June. What's that? A little under 3 months. See, Roman, we could do math on this show. All right. So we're gonna do a segment because I want Jason to yell for a little bit. This is our worst thing that happened this week, and I'm just gonna let him take over because he needs a little bit of a ramp to get going.
Oh, I'm just gonna try and keep this fairly brief because we talked way too long about WWDC. Apple's announced, there was a rumor yesterday, but they announced it today, that there's ads are going to come to Maps. And they announced it as part of this wider product called Apple Business, which is a lot of the stuff they've had for a while now. Their mobile device management and app management for businesses and stuff like that, kind of all wrapped into one service they're calling Apple Business. And part of this is, what do they call it? New discoverability or enhanced discoverability on Maps, which is just but when this releases in April as a business, you can claim your business on Maps like people do on Yelp and Google Maps. Yes, this is my business. And then starting this summer, they're going to start selling ads in Maps. So they're going to ruin the next thing with freaking ads. So you search for something, you search for best sushi near me, and the first result is going to be an ad for somebody who paid to be on best sushi near me in San Francisco or whatever, right? Like not the best one and not the one that's most relevant or newest or any of the other things that you're actually looking for, just the one that paid to be there. And it'll be marked an ad. And then the marking,
kind of like the App Store, there's like a little blue.
Yeah, there's a tiny little.
It's highlighted differently. Yeah.
It's tiny little dot, and it's highlighted slightly differently, and nobody will. Like we just talked about how nobody's paying attention, right? Like nobody will know or care. But this is the word. So when they launched the App Store, you remember how Steve Jobs so proudly talked about how there weren't going to be ads because ads ruin the experience. Like you, if you search for something and the result is something that paid to be there, that is not search, right? So then they started adding ads, but not in search. It was ads in, like the categories, the top list categories and when they spotlight ads, apps and stuff like that, there were ads in there. And then their ads came to search. And then there's ads in like Apple TV. And then they abuse the push notification for the Wallet app to hawk tickets to F1 the movie. Like, And
Best Picture nominee F1 the movie, Jason.
If your wallet app sends you a notification, it better be about something for one of your cards or tickets in the wallet. And it wasn't. It was go buy movie tickets, which they absolutely deserve to get raked over the coals for.
It made like $1 billion or something, so it worked.
Yeah, I don't know how much of an impact that popping up a wallet notification. I mean, it's especially bad that it was from the wallet app. Yeah. Like, that was the worst. Like, no, that's my credit cards. What are you doing?
Well, movie tickets can live there if you use it.
Absolutely, right?
Yeah.
But the right way to do it would have been to like work a deal with Fandango where you pay it and Fandango pushes out their Fandango push notifications for people who have the Fandango app and buy movie tickets or whatever. But no, your wallet app, just because it's pre-installed on all your iPhones, that was gross. For the last month, I turn on my Apple TV and the TV app has above the fold on the main TV screen an entire row of F1 stuff.
Yeah.
Like for a month before the season starts, I have zero interest in sports. This is not algorithmic to me. I don't watch sports of any kind. I'm not into F1. I've shown no interest. And they're sucking up the whole interface to go like, watch F1. We paid so much money. Watch it, please.
It's pretty cool. To anyone watching,
I don't care how cool
I don't know
it
anything
is.
about F1 either, but I've watched a couple of them, and it's pretty cool.
Yeah, and I honestly don't. I have absolutely no problem with them paying the money and producing the thing and making it cool. I have a problem with them selling out my user experience for more money instead of going like, let's make more money by making a better product or experience. They're going like, no, let's make more money by abusing our the reach that we have to worsen everybody's experience. So they did that with the App Store. They did it with those, and now they're going to do it with Maps. And I'm going to search for something, and it's going to be just like on Yelp or Google Maps or Google search on the web, where everything I search for, the first many results are people who paid to be there and not people who earned a spot in the results by being what I'm looking for. Yelp is the worst. You search for any
I know you got to scroll past all that stuff
on Yelp, and it's like 15 items long. It's so long that you forget. You're onto the second page, and it's still at paid placement ads. So you forget that these are paid ads. You have to go so far down to get past the ads that you're just like, oh wait, these are the actual search results. So Yelp I don't think they're going to be that bad, but Google does it. Like Google Maps is great at showing a map and giving directions. But if you try to find a thing, like if it's not the specific name of the business exactly, if you're just trying to find something in a category like home improvement store or something like that, it's just a mess because the first several results are ads that you can't trust and nobody's going to scroll to get to the real thing. And now Apple's just like, we need more services revenue. Man, we need to spend more than $25 billion on stock buybacks every quarter. So
let me play devil's
advocate
for a second. Do you think this is something that businesses have come to Apple and said, hey, we're going to promote our stuff in Google over you because you don't have this thing that they have? In order to stay competitive with Google Maps, do you think that this is something that Apple needs to bring to their Maps application?
No, I don't. I don't think anybody is like, I don't think there's a business out there.
I knew that was the answer. I just wanted you to say why.
I don't think there's a business out there that's just like, we're going to not be listed on Apple Maps and only be listed on Google Maps because we can buy an ad on Google Maps that points everybody to us. Right. Like it's just not, I don't think that's the way the listings work on these things. And already Apple gets all this, has a partnership with Yelp, and they get all this data from Yelp and all this other stuff. So
they do partner with Yelp. I assume that's going to go away.
I think that's what this is. Yeah. Not immediately, because they use that for like ratings for restaurants and businesses and hours and stuff like that. But there are already a number of businesses that, like most businesses and locations and stuff on Apple Maps, when you tap on them, you get like a pop-up that's like it's info supplied by Yelp, and it's got a little tag on it. And it's like ratings and hours and stuff like that. But there are some that don't. It's all from Apple. And I think they're trying to grow that. I think they're trying to split from Yelp and make sure that things like business reviews, and this is just one step, right? First ad placement, then hours of business reviews and all the other stuff. I think they want to own all that data. And I think
so there is
part of that.
I just went in just to make sure I was right. There is a rating system within Apple Maps now for restaurants or whatever, or businesses. Mm-hmm. It's not all that robust, and it's not all that promoted, and I don't know how many people use it. Like, for example, I'm looking at a place near me that has 6 ratings. We don't have time to go through Yelp because Roman's going to yell at me, but I'm assuming on Yelp they have 10 times more ratings, so they're going to have to build that up if they plan to.
And that's not all locations. So I just there's a Petco down the street from me. If I tap on Petco, it says it has hours open. And if I tapped on that, I get more. But then it has the 2.7 stars. But it says Yelp parentheses 110 2.7 stars. Like that's so they're getting things like review stars and data and stuff, and that's the top level maps info, right? You don't have to drill down for that.
I always think it's funny when Petco gets like 2 stars. Like, it's a pet store. What are you upset about?
Yeah, I don't know. Cleanliness, customer service.
Listen, Jason, I absolutely understand what you're saying, and we've become far too accustomed to ads being everywhere. And you can say, well, just scroll past it. Well, sure. But like, you have to train your mind to do that. When maps right now, you don't have to do that. I type in, like, I'm going on vacation in a couple of weeks to Chicago, and I've been using maps to kind of look at restaurants and plan our course. In a month or whenever this thing launches, I'm going to have to scroll down and not click on the ad. And the ad might be the best one. Who knows? But
you have no way of knowing.
That's for it to be
the trust is gone, right? That's part of what's so frustrating about it, is that Apple, as the biggest, richest consumer tech company in the world, is kind of the last person who needs to degrade user experience to make more money. They need to. Yeah. They're in the best position to say, no, our user experience is worth more to us than this incremental ad revenue or something. We're going to make money by having people buy products or use our services or something because they are a better experience. And it's just so disappointing to see that, like, if you wave enough potential revenue in front of their face, like, they go like, well, we'll just call it an enhanced discoverability or some nonsense. But no, when you search for something and something that paid to be there is in the results, that's just bad. It's bad when Apple does it. It's bad when Google does it. It's bad when Yelp does it. It's bad when it's not a mapping thing. It's bad on Amazon. When I search for something, the results should be what I search for, not. I've never once searched for who paid you the most to say you're the best sushi restaurant. Like, that's not what I want.
All right, Roman. Let's get to some happy stuff.
Okay.
Give me some positive comments. Thank you, Jason.
Enough ranting. Yes.
You're muted,
Roman. You're muted.
See, we're already levity. We're already into levity.
So, comment corner. We got a couple emails from a couple of international listeners.
Hey,
this message, we got a lengthy email from Roddy B, who makes his home in Germany. He is a longtime listener and had some thoughts about how we shook up the podcast. I think that was his words, shook up. It took some time for Roddy to adjust, but he said, I have no clue how you do what you do, but please keep doing it. Keep shaking things up and continue to be unafraid. Roddy also said he thinks a clamshell iPhone will be popular and hopes Apple will someday come up with a MacBook iPad hybrid product. He said, I want my cake and I want to be able to eat it.
Yeah. I mean, I know that the Neo is like not that at all. But I wonder if the Neo is kind of an indication that they're not going to really go in that direction.
Yeah, I was going to say that. I don't really think they tried. I don't think they want to mash the Mac and the iPad together at all. But I 100% agree with them on the flip style folding iPhone. There's apparently designs in the works that may see the light of day in a year or two. That's one of the things Apple's working on for the future. It's not going to be the first folding iPhone, but it's going to be a folding iPhone. I think that would be a huge hit. I think people love that flip form factor.
Samsung makes one, Motorola makes one. They're fun. They're a little retro, a little modern, and they're good.
Very pocketable. Like it's once they're folded, they're like so compact. Yeah. So I think that'd be a huge hit. And as for what we do, Roman doesn't talk a lot in here because he's the producer, but he does a lot of work before the podcast and after we record. Mike and I are mostly winging it and reading the script. You have notes, you have a script to read, but Roman does a ton of the work there, so he deserves most of the credit.
But you see, here's the difference is the work I do, I find like easy and soothing. The talking you guys do, I find very stressful. Not you guys talking, but me having the talk. See, I can't even do it now. That's what I mean. So
that was
so funny. I would rather be producing than talking like you guys. So I'm happy to
I'm
hear
stressed
you
when I'm not talking. I'm always looking for a place to insert myself that's not running over. We have conversations about how we interrupt each other, and I know people have complained about that. We absolutely try not to do that. It is really hard.
It's a thing that both Mike and I. It's sort of our speaking styles, and also to not stop talking about something and move on. Like so, it's having the two of us on a podcast is a really bad idea. We try real hard, you guys.
We do try.
And our last comment comes from Mark L. in the UK. He says, I'm a regular listener. I like the new format, more casual and chatty, but keeping the well-informed coverage of all things Apple. So thank you very much, Mark. Thanks for listening.
Thanks, Mark. The good thing is baseball season's coming up, so we'll have some baseball discussions.
Oh, my gosh.
Oh, here we go.
Wait, when does it start? It won't be.
Tomorrow? Wednesday.
Yeah.
All right. Oh, see, you'll get that next week because Jason Snell, when you swap out Jason's and have Jason Snell on, he's a huge baseball fan.
Yes.
Don't talk your off about baseball.
He's a huge baseball fan.
Oh, yeah.
So I'd like to encourage our international listeners to send us emails and post messages. So we like getting the messages from our internet. We like getting the messages from everyone. But I especially like hearing them from the international listeners because they do have a different perspective. So, Apple's different in different countries. Apple's very dominant in the U.S. Mm-hmm. While they have presence in other countries, it's not like it's here in the U.S. So I like hearing.
Yeah, and there's a lot of features and services, and they always like launch here first, and it takes so long for them to get to other markets and everything. So, our perspective on it's different.
Yeah, and Apple's presence in other international markets is growing, so I'd like to hear what other people are thinking in international markets. So that does it for Comment Corner.
All right, and that does it for this episode of the Macworld Podcast, episode number 976. Thank you, Jason.
Thank you.
Thank you, Roman.
Thank you, sir.
And thanks to you, the audience, for tuning in. You can subscribe to the Macworld Podcast in the podcast app on Spotify, YouTube at the Macworld Podcast channel, or through any other podcast app. If you have any comments or questions, contact us through Blue Sky, Facebook, Threads, search for Macworld, look for the Blue Mouse logo, send us an email at podcast@macworld.com, send us a personal email, comment under a video, comment under a post, just get us a message, particularly international, because Roman would like to hear from you. And you can join us in the next episode where Jason Snell will be our guest, and it will be Apple's 50th anniversary. I drew myself off target on that one. There was no reason for me. I was Roman, and so next week.
I thought maybe you were thinking about the studio displays. That's why you got thrown off a little bit there.
Tune in for other Jason
So next week will be our Apple 50th special episode. See you then.
Until next time, hey, hey, hey.